Alright, I have a X15 Plastizote and standard EVA orthotic from Dr. T with accommodations to the 5th on the left and the 5th on the right. And the left is the 1st and the 5th, according to the marks that he put on the cast. Now most labs only do their EVAs right up to the metatarsal heads, and they leave all this area with the lumps and the bumps missing because they cut it off right here like they would a plastic one and add an extension to the sulcus or add it to the toes. And since I had 3 surgeries on my foot, I have to wear EVA. And the best way I found to make it is to fill in the cast and use a 3/4 inch solid piece, which you'll see later. So as I grind it, I'll put the 4-foot posting in. But right now, this big lump here, this bump, this shape of the foot is all going to be captured. This bump right here, this bump here that the doctor put in, I just sanded it down a little bit lower. But he had marked it off in the cast, as you could see. Here's a nice bump here. And all of this should be molded into the extension of the orthotic to make it better. Now a lab that would scan that with a digitizer, again, would find a shell close enough to it by measuring from the back of the heel to the 5th metatarsal, from the back of the heel to the 1st, and they either buy 114 shapes, as quoted to me by the lab that makes them for other labs, or they have it built in to their computer as quoted to me by another lab. He says, I have 114 shapes in my computer, and sometimes you get plaster all over you when it's ready to run out. Now you can see why the labs are going to trying to get digital machinery, scanners to do the work, because it's all time consuming. And then when they put out the orthotic for $2 less and the doctor thinks he's getting a bargain, he's not getting a perfectly made, handcrafted orthotic. So now, as you can see, I got a good consistency in the plaster, and the first thing I'm going to do is build up the 5th metatarsal where the doctor had marked it, and I'm going to make it a little higher so when I mold it later I'll have a deeper impression. This is strictly from my experience, where other labs we just grind a little hole or an indentation or a dimple right there. And I'm going to smooth that all out. Also allows for me to put extra padding in there. Sometimes we put in a pad, rebound material. When the patient steps down, it bounces and relieves the pressure off the callus. So again, now I'm working that 1st metatarsal area, which is a little extra large than usual. And I'm trying to fill that all in with my hands. now I'm going to start on the lateral side and fill in the orthotic to make room for the padding and expansion of the foot. With my hands, I'm following the exact contour. If the camera can pick this up, you can see the base of the fifth is still here. And again, which a computer CAMCAD sometimes picks up, I can add a little extra here if I think it needs it. If I think the impression wasn't taken 100%, because no one can take an impression 100% good all the time. This doctor does. Try to check every inch. Right now I'm following the contour and the shape of the foot. But I'm relying on my hands to feel the whole shape of the foot. Add where I think some more plaster has to be. Years ago, when I was taught by a doctor who came out of school, and he was taught by Dr. Root, they weren't coming out so good. All kinds of complaints from the lab he was using. The patients would complain, and I started learning to tweak it, and I put all those little tweaks into hand doing these casts, and I have very little returns if the casts are taken correctly. And again, I double check to see if the doctor, how much fill he wants. On the back of our form, this was checked off for a standard fill. And now with my fingers, I'm going to float a smooth layer of plaster. But I'm following the whole contour of the foot. Right around the toes, right around the big heavy callus that was here on the first metatarsal. And then I might refine it with a sanding sheet. Clean off the bottom so it's level. And still, I'm going to add, right over here, it needs a little extra. This is what's lacking in CAMCAD. CAMCAD would have just taken a line from the back of the heel to here, and then the patient might have felt this little area that I'm filling in and smoothing it out. And this is how I hand make the cast for my EVAs and for cork and for Plastizote. Now we will vacuum form it right up to the line of the toes, right here. So this whole shape is all in one piece, which is the secret you will see later on how this is done. So here's the finished product, and here's the next one I'm going to do. Now we do not, at this point, put the 4-foot posting in. As you can see, this is still pronating. When you turn it over, it's pronating. When we go to make the item and grind it, I use 3/4 of an inch of material, and you will see how I will incorporate the 3 degrees that's missing and have this balanced as I grind it. And that's how we do an X15.